Hi, everyone. It's Yonit. It's Wednesday, June 25th, 10 p.m. in Israel, 10:30 p.m. in Tehran, 3 p.m. in Washington. The current Israel-Iran war seems to be behind us, but an important debate only now beginning. What really happened to Iran's nuclear program? I spoke today to someone uniquely positioned to answer that question or begin to answer it. Zohar Palti likes to say he grew up in Israel's intelligence community. He essentially worked in the intelligence business for 40 years as the head of the Mossad intelligence directorate and later as a top official in the Ministry of Defense. Today, he is an Andrew Viterbi Fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy in D.C. I spoke to him earlier today. So, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Pleasure to be with you, Yonit.
We talk almost every day in the studio, but that's Hebrew. This is different. Look, let's look at where we are right now. Trump said we obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Netanyahu said Israel removed the existential threat of a nuclear Iran. The New York Times is reporting that the U.S. initial damage report says that the Iran nuclear program was set back by months and not obliterated. Where's the truth in all this?
First of all, each one of them have his own beliefs, truth, and I'm not in a position to judge not the President of the United States, not the Prime Minister of Israel. Mm-hmm. I'm a professional that grew up in the Israeli intelligence community, and I know a bit, also the American intelligence community. For 40 years, I was serving over there. Now, intelligence is a completely different ballgame from media and completely a different ballgame from politics. If you have interest, if you have things like that, everybody wants to go to the media to say. Based on the profession that I grew up, and after such, and let's say, this is a milestone in the history, you can't judge after 4 hours the intelligence. You have first impression. You can go, and over here I want to review a bit how the intelligence is working. First of all, we have the aircraft that is about to attack, whether it's F-35, F-16, they have like a camera and they know to give the BDA. What happening at the moment that the bomb is dropping on the site? BDA is that you are checking the aftermath after you are taking a target, what was the result? Then we have what we call VISINT. VISINT can be satellites, can be UAVs, and we used to operate a lot of drones and UAVs above Tehran and above the sites. That will give the indication from a visual point of view from 50,000 feet to a satellites and sometimes 7 or 10,000 feet if there is not anti-aircraft. Then we have other, I will call it technological measures, very sophisticated to understand what's going on. Then you have human people that will be on the site, will give you a report. Sometimes it's subjective. They see only tiny angle. Then you have OSINT, open sources, TV, coverage, things like that you can learn a lot from that. Then there will be hopefully the AI that will go to the sites to understand what is it. I'm talking about from the first impression that you have till you have a really solid intel picture that's taking time, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. I know that everybody is not patient enough to get what I'm saying right now. You want the answer right now. It's not going to happen. And sometimes the first impression you have, and right now I'm not judgmental, whether the reports yesterday was more accurate or less accurate, the intel picture is developing in a way that if you thought that you've done, let's say, not so impressive performance, after a couple of weeks, you understand, wow, we've done pretty good. And on the contrary, this is it.
So you're basically saying there is no way to know a few days after what the level of success is in hitting or striking the Iranian nuclear program?
You can assess based on the air photos and, when the pilots are throwing the bombs, whether it's Americans with the B-2 or the Israeli ones before them, whether it's an alpha, meaning they hit the target or not. But if it's a building, for example, that you're attacking in, against Hezbollah in Lebanon or in Gaza against Hamas, you see 3 floors building, the bomb is hitting, it's over, the building is not there. When you're dealing with underground sites, there is a lot of question mark. What happened to the centrifuges? Whether they preserve the material. Till the moment that you are not going to get intel inside 70 meters or 90 meters under the ground, you're not going to know it.
So let's talk about what we do know. at this point, or what we can know perhaps? And let's start with the sort of, if something can be a crown jewel of a nuclear program, that is obviously Fordo. What do we know about the U.S. strike on Fordo?
Most of the people are concentrated about three main sites. Isfahan, it's a very important site to convert uranium in a very, let's say, advanced process. Probably this size is gone. And based on what I know, unless something changed dramatically in the last few months, the Iranians don't have a substitute for that. So this is crucial, and it seems to me that our first attack and then the Americans, when they came and closed with the heavy bombs, it seems to me that Isfahan is gone. Natanz, the planning was amazing. I think that whatever we planned and carried out at the end should give the ultimate result. Over here, the American again came in the last wave, annihilate with a couple of bombs in order to make sure that Natanz is gone. And about Fordo, we'll have to wait and see. Based on the planning that I saw from the Americans many, many years ago, and the destruction that this bomb really know how to do. And I read that they throw like 12 of them. I believe in the American pilots. I believe in General Corella and CENTCOM. Probably they have done a great job. And it's so important that the commander-in-chief gave them the instruction and the order to do it.
But when it started, they said you needed 2 or 3 waves of attack. There's only one.
So what I read, that they throw 12 bombs.
Okay.
The planning was much less than that. They wanted to make sure that it's going to be a touchdown. And you ask me, it will be a touchdown.
Okay.
And as President Trump just said this morning, if we will understand one day that the Iranians are restoring or building the program again, we know how to attack again. I will elaborate about this issue. We are focusing about 3 sites, but there are so many other components in BDA. First of all, I read in the newspaper that a lot of the knowledge, meaning key figures in the Iranian nuclear program, were vanished in the first 24 hours. The knowledge of those scientists is crucial to the program. Then, very important component is the surface-to-surface missile, the ballistic missiles, because eventually, if God forbid, the Iranian will have a military nuclear bomb, they need a delivery methodology in order to launch it. We hit in a very severe way the launchers and the surface-to-surface ballistic missiles. Then there is also the psychological element. It's the first time that the Iranians, since 1988, knows that the Israeli Air Force and the American Air Force know how to fly all over Iran almost freely. Now, you can't measure it in a way like you see it in an air photo. This is the psychological element. And the last thing, if somebody thought that it's like the Iraqi nuclear reactor in 81 or the Syrian one in 2007 that we attacked, one site, plutogenic, and this is over, we knew before that the Iranian nuclear program is spread all over, multiple sites. Guys, that was a real challenge, and it's like to compare apples and oranges to the previous attacks that we or the Americans have done.
So if you have to assess from what you know at this point, how many years has the Iranian, both the nuclear and the missile sort of project, how many years has it been set back, you think, your assessment would be?
It will be not serious for me to say it right now. I need the engineers, I need the specialists, I need people that understand in nuclear, I need people that understand how much time it will take to build, if the Iranian will build it. I know to say something like that. The Iranian used to build those sites something like 30, 40 years. We destroyed them. Yeah. They invested like hundreds of billions of dollars in this project. So I don't want to tell you whether we destroy, let's say, I'm just throwing a number, $300 billion or not. They have to restore everything right now, almost from scratch. Okay. We also destroy factories, how to manufacture centrifuges, the advanced one. I don't want to tell for the time being whether they restore, whether they have another few of them, dozens of them, or thousands of them. We'll have to wait and see.
And the bizarre Middle East version of Where's Waldo is, of course, where's the enriched uranium? What do we know about that? Because we did see trucks next to the Fordo site, perhaps taking out some of the enriched uranium. Some of it was the Iranians attempted to hide it. What do we know about that?
Let's say that right now, this room is like 70 meters under the ground. Everything is concrete over here. And let's say that there is a container with a uranium material in this corner. And one of the concrete is landing. Two options, whether we crash the container or whether the container is hidden in a corner and is completely safe under this cement or concrete that just collapsed right now. I don't know to tell you. I don't know to tell you whether they took one of the containers, let's say 5 minutes before or a few days before, and just hide it. I know something like that. Really, there is basically 4 superpowers in the world. The Americans regarding Iran, the Americans, the Israelis, and I can add to that the French and the Brits. Based on the intelligence that those intelligence community brought in the last 40 years, probably will know where to find the containers. Over here, it's so important that there will be a political agreement with the Iranians after it. And exactly how? In 2013, there was an agreement between the Americans and the Russians to take the chemical weapon out of Syria because we didn't know what to do with the chemical weapon when you blow it. That's a reason, part of the reason that President Obama decided eventually not to do it. Because nobody knew how to measure whether it's vaporized, whatever, meaning the Americans called the Russian, and they took most of the chemical weapon out. I think we can duplicate the same methodology over here. If the Iranians will be forthcoming, not to build a military nuclear bomb anymore, and they're willing to speak with the Americans right now, the international community have the tools and the means how to take the material out.
Let's look at what this did to the Israeli-U.S. relationship. On the one hand, Israel restored deterrence. It broke a technological, even you called it a psychological barrier, right? Showing the world that Iran is vulnerable and it can attack in this way. On the other hand, Israel very dependent on the United States. The president saying the F word, making Israeli planes turn back on the day of the ceasefire when they're already on their way to Iran. Perhaps the Israeli public looking further down the road, seeing more skirmish with Iran in the next couple of years. How do you assess what happened to Israel and what happened to the relationship with the United States?
First of all, let's start with a positive. The fact that we have such an amazing friends like the Americans that came in a very defining moment in the last, it's already 21 months, to administration, bipartisan, to fight shoulder to shoulder with us, to protect the states of Israel and the Jewish. For a guy like me that used to serve, and mainly most of us that used to have families that passed the Holocaust, I just can dream that like 80 years ago, there used to be United States of America right beside the states of Israel. And when we come to the defining moment like that, that is really existential threat for us, to see the American jets with us, this is wing to wing, not shoulder to shoulder, I think this is wow. I think that the fact that we have done most of the job and we took the decision by our own, and the Americans came in the end to help us, this is also something huge. I'm less, let's say, take hard the F word. When you are with friends and family and people that care for you, it's okay sometimes to say it. That means that it's sincere. This is something that came from probably his heart at that moment. And I take it personally, it's something, we're in the Middle East, we're used to it. This is not something that we have to be PC. And if the president felt in that moment that that's what exactly what he felt to do, it's fine with me. Now, he's got his own interest and calculation regarding, because he's American, he is the United States president, and we have sometimes our own. And it's okay to have sometimes debate or to see a different angle. As friends, we have to understand the American interest. No doubt that American understood us, and we need to sort it out. If there is kind of dispute, you ask me, it seems to me that we are more shoulder to shoulder than bumpy or something like that. And we just have to be really grateful for the Americans about it.
So you think that there is no downside to what happened in the past 12 days in the sense of Israel restoring its deterrence, showing the region what it is capable of, and it's only a good thing?
No, I won't color it like it's only. The word only is something that I won't use. Since October 7, the atrocity and the trauma, we took down Hamas. Then we took down Hezbollah in 6 weeks. Then Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria collapsed. Meaning all the proxies and all the bad guys that used to jeopardize your family and my family are gone right now. It was almost essential from a strategic point of view that we'll go directly to the head of the snake or the head of the octopus, whatever we'll call it, because otherwise they restore these capabilities like in a minute. So from a strategic point of view, and that's why I'm not right now picky whether I needed exactly the intelligence that said that the Iranians are running to the bomb right now or not. Mm-hmm. The trajectory the Iranian used to pursue and to get the military and nuclear bomb was obvious to everybody. That's the reason that President Biden wanted to negotiate 4 years with them and it didn't came. And that's the reason that President Trump gave them 60 days and they were dragging their feet and done nothing with the Americans. Mm-hmm. So the president said, enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Israel have done whatever we've done in the day 61. The American closed this issue, and it seems to me right now that the Middle East is a much safer place based on the cooperation between us and the Americans.
Let's talk about the UAE and the Saudis. Does all of this bring a normalization with Saudi Arabia closer in any way? I mean, obviously the war in Gaza needs to end for that to happen, but...
We need more time to that. First of all, we need to close the Gaza issue, the war in Gaza. I assess that without that the IDF will go out, and of course the hostages, first of all, the hostages will come back to Israel, but this is not related to the Saudis. But the IDF have to go out from Gaza before the Saudis will come. And we need sometimes to relax. Mm-hmm. It was really significant, 21 months. And we lost a lot of people. The Palestinians also lost a lot of people. It seemed to me that everybody need to calm down before we are doing something over here. We're all human beings. It was harsh since. Mm-hmm. And of course, the trauma that we passed as Israelis, we need some more times. Whether I'm optimistic regarding the trajectory that I see from the Gulf states and mainly the Saudis, the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. The strategic partners that Iran has, mainly Russia, obviously, we saw thousands of Iranian drones flying over Ukraine, in a way, China. What does this do to that relationship?
We have a lot of respect to China as a superpower, but the Chinese in this issue, they are not a real player. And thank God for that. We have enough balls in the air. Thanks that China is not there. I just heard President Putin a couple of days ago, and I know it because I heard it from the Russian for decades, how much the bond with the Jewish that came from former Soviet Union, the more than 2 million people, and the cultural life and the bond between Russia and the states of Israel is important for the Russians from a cultural point of view. Mm-hmm. And I remember also that the Russians used to play a very positive player when we dealt with the biological and chemical unconventional weapon in Syria. And if the Russian will be on the board with the Americans regarding to, let's say, stop the Iranians to continue the program, the nuclear program, I think I'm not ruling it out. I think that the Russian can play a role over here based on the history that the Russian used to play. Now I'm coming to regardless to the Russian and to the Chinese, what I saw over here, that the American technology and the Israeli technology in a way also, the superiority of the West technology is wow. The American technology is here, and all the rest I don't want, even because I have respect to other elements. And I have respect also to the Iranians, but not even one Iranian air defense battery is alive right now. We knew how to take it, like, I don't want to brag or something like that. And it seems to me that the Middle East see it. And then it seems to me also that the world is seeing it, and Europe is seeing it. That's why the importance of the gathering right now of NATO members and things like that. When you have a superpower like the United States of America, it's better to be friends of them.
Yeah, that's for sure. When you talk about the Middle East being safer, when you talk about Israel essentially taking down Hezbollah, taking down Hamas, and then, taking head on the Iranians, doesn't mean that Israel, in a way, managed to take the terrible, terrible catastrophe and calamity of October 7th and maybe turn it into something else.
So I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. As long as we have hostages in Gaza, we're not there yet. And that will be a process among ourselves to digest what happened in October 7, and it's going to be a long one.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm under the influence of one of the meetings that I had today with a family that lost their dear ones. But this is something deep in our culture, the Israelis, that will have to pray and to dig what the hell happened at the night between October 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And this is related also to the Israeli intelligence community, because we praise the intelligence community, beautiful operations, beepers, whatever we've done in Iran. What the hell happened to them in October 6 and 7?
Yeah.
Why I didn't hear the one voice that thought, guys, the king is naked or whatever we call it.
Yeah. What would that answer be to yourself when you say, how could we take down an Iranian general 2,000 miles from Israel, but we don't see the Nukhba soldiers under our nose?
We saw them, by the way.
Yeah.
We saw them.
Or we don't understand what it means.
But we didn't give an early warning. The intelligence community back then, we didn't give an early warning to the soldiers in order to prevent it. Mm-hmm. We need a national investigation and inquiry in order to do it, and it will be a national. It will take another few months, another few weeks, another few years. Eventually, it's crucial. Yeah. Not for the sake to find who we need right now to fire, to throw home, because responsibility, most of the people took responsibility already. It's in order to learn from the mistakes, and we used to have almost the same mistake, not almost, but very similar, like 50 years ago in Yom Kippur War. What happened that we used to teach the generation when I was a young intelligence officer, for example, Yom Kippur was that we need to educate the children that are not born yet right now to learn from the mistakes of October 6th. So we need to do it. Yeah. That's essential. Without that, that will be a problem.
I want to ask again about the operation itself, what we saw Israel managing to do in Iran for those 12 days. And this time, the Mossad was quite forthcoming with the details. As it was when the nuclear archives were stolen, making a point to tell these details to the world. Is that a good thing? I assume that's for deterrence, but do you think that's a good thing?
Sometimes there is calculations in organization why they do it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's because they are arrogant. Sometimes because it's operational need. And sometimes it's in between. Sometimes it's stupid and sometimes it's very wise. Mm-hmm. I don't know to judge it right now. Yeah. When you're in the room, you know whether, and after it, you know whether it was stupid or it was just to brag. And sometimes it's good also for the PR. Yeah. Because we need to recruit people. Whether to serve in the Mossad or whether to work for us. Yes. So there is... I don't know to judge.
Yeah, a whole line of questions here, what the right thing to do. How do we end this conversation? Can we end it on an optimist's note? You said the Middle East is much safer today than it was 2 weeks ago. Is that what we should?
No doubt. And again, it's not that I think that we are immune, and it's not that I think that we are not going to face tremendous challenges. And I'm not sure, and if somebody thinks or hallucinate that the word Iran is not going to be with us in the next couple of generations, and surface to surface, and probably, sadly, I'm saying, nuclear plan by the Iranians or things like that, he's hallucinating. Mm-hmm. It's going to be. It's a Sisyphic way. Mm-hmm. You need to deal with that all the time because always the bad guys that want to deal with us. Sadly, I'm saying it. So in that way, we have to be with very down to earth. But when you ask me today, when we're speaking 24 hours after this 12 days, the world is much safer because of us and the Americans. And it seems to me that for the time being, if we will close the Gaza war right now, there might be a potential for the next, I don't know to anticipate how many years, the Middle East will be much more quiet.
Mm-hmm. Zohar Palti, thank you very much for talking.
Thank you, Yonit.
That was our conversation with Zohar Palti. A big thank you to Michal Porat. To all of you asking, Jonathan is away, the farthest away from these events, in fact, in deepest South America. But thankfully, he will be back next week. In the meantime, check out our Unholy Weekly episode tomorrow with a very special guest host.